And now I'm very happy to welcome and to continue this conversation here in Vienna on Corona lessons with experts in Austria. And it is a very special honor to be able to count on the participation of our following guests and to welcome to our delegation Ms. Theresia Vogel and Ms. Dr. Stockhammer.
Hello.
Schönen guten Abend. Servus.
Hello.
Theresia Vogel, you are Managing Director of the Austrian Climate and Energy Fund. And Dr. Stockhammer, she is a Managing Director of the Social Entrepreneurship Network of Austria, short SENA. So, just want to quickly explain what the Austrian Climate and Energy Fund is for our Catalan viewers. It supports the Austrian government to fulfill and implement its climate and energy goals, and also to raise awareness in the Austrian population. Now, this takes me already to the first question that we would like to discuss with you. What is your recommendation to the Austrian government on how to react on the current challenges of the pandemic in terms of fulfillment? And maybe even new strategies to be able to achieve the Green Deal despite the economic crisis that goes along with the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, let me say it was really interesting to listen to the expert from Catalan, because at least the experience seems to be close to that what we had here in Austria. So it's really comparable. It's a little bit hard to give recommendations as a governmental fund to the government, but nevertheless, I'll try. But I know that we agree with the government in many points. First of all, what we have seen during the last months is that at the sudden point, the science became a very loud voice. This was not during the last years in that case. It was about the COVID pandemic, but at least it was also impressive for the climate scientists. So science, the voice of science was very loud, and I think the government also followed that voice. And that could also be a recommendation: follow the voice of science and of research in case of thinking of a Green Deal for Austria. Because, as I know, the government also thinks that at the heart of any COVID package should also be a green idea and a kind of a Green Deal, because this is really investment in the future. The next point from our view was at least also that we have seen that people are aware of the crisis, that they are willing to follow the recommendations of the government, of the top management of Austria at least. And this was working, because at least you had a recommendation followed by a scientific, let me say, platform or a basis for that. After that you had an action, and then you had a feedback loop at least. There was always about numbers and all that things connected to Corona. So that could be a lecture learned for the climate crisis. Follow the crisis, follow the numbers, show the numbers, give the people a reaction. If there is an action, show them what is the action, what has the action brought out. And this is a little bit missing in Austria at present, and I think as far as we heard, the government, our minister, Leonora Gewessner, is trying to make this following stream to show the people here climate crisis is going on. It's slowly, but at least we have done something, and that happened. So this is very important from our point of view. And at least it's also important, it was mentioned, to be informed, to have the knowledge about the climate crisis. I'm sure that people are aware of the climate crisis. They see something is changing around me, in my city, in my region, in my business at least. If you're in agriculture or forestry, for example, then you can feel it very strongly. But it's also about knowledge. What can I do? And how is this thing going on? Because at least it's kind of a centennial project. The fight against climate crisis will go with us for a long time. It's not done within the next 5 years. It's over decades. So I think this is very important to show, to give information and to raise awareness. Also, we need the help of the citizens. We need this kind of Paris lifestyle, for example. So, but people have to know, what can I do? They're willing to do it. And we also will need the private money into the action.
We heard also on the documentary that it was talked about the need of global common priorities, concrete priorities, and then that each country should also have its own priorities. So where do you see common global priorities that, for example, would be shared with the south of Europe, and that just some examples where you think that we can work more together, because also think that it's going to be a 10 years or many more years of fight, so to say, against the climate change.
Also, just one example, it's out of technology at least. At present, everyone in Europe and also in the world is talking of the hydrogen world at least. Hydrogen is a solution for the energy system of the future, and no country is an island. If you try to go the path of hydrogen or hydrogen technologies, then you need at least a continental cooperation. But it will become at least a global cooperation. So you have to have cross-border activities, you have to set up cross-border networks, international networks, like, for example, Mission Innovation, or the IEA has activities in the field of hydrogen, or you have a European Research Area task on hydrogen. So you have to work together, because it's not the thing of one nation only.
So thank you, Ms. Vogel, for your first intervention. We have now talked about also the need of people to participate, and this, I think, connects very well with maybe your activity from the Social Entrepreneurship Network of Austria. As far as I understand, it helps social entrepreneurs to solve social challenges with an entrepreneur approach. First of all, what does this actually mean? Can you maybe explain what means social entrepreneurship, and maybe connect it also with the concrete example of facing the challenge of this corona crisis?
So, thanks. First of all, also thank you for inviting me to this interesting talk, and also for the inputs we had the opportunity to view before. And as Ms. Vogel said, there are many analogies to Austria when we look at Catalonia, in particular when you look at tourism, which is also very strong in Austria, and also to the lockdown measures that have been taken. When it comes to social entrepreneurship, and SENA, the Social Entrepreneurship Network, is also the interest group or interest representation of the Austrian social entrepreneurs. This is frequently deemed as a very young or new development, but in fact that's not the case. So social entrepreneurs have been there already a couple of decades ago. So the first social entrepreneur to bring an example is Florence Nightingale with her initiative to patient care, or Friedrich Wilhelm Raiffeisen, who has brought the Genossenschaft principle to economy, and the principle to help people to help themselves. Currently, social entrepreneurs have changed a little bit. They're very innovative. They're frequently very small and dynamic companies. Many of them are startups in the narrow sense of a startup, so also very quickly growing and scaling up. And the main difference between a social business or a social entrepreneur and a traditional business is the focus or the reason of company foundation is that the entrepreneur wants to solve a societal problem. This may be a society or social problem, and this may be an ecological problem. And so the company is founded to make a contribution to one of our major problems. We are all aware of the many problems we are facing: migration, climate change, poverty, social divide, etc. Most of us know the Sustainable Development Goals, and the social entrepreneurs pursue these goals, and they try to do this not as a non-profit initiative. This is the difference between a social entrepreneur and, for example, Caritas or other initiatives in this field, but by means of entrepreneurship, as the name indicates, so by generating income on the market, by selling products and services, and the income is then used to support or to increase the social impact. And very often it's also the generation of the income, so the business itself has also a social concept by including, for example, employees that come from a vulnerable group, such as migrants or people with disabilities and so on and so forth. And Austria is a very strong country for social entrepreneurs. Currently we have about 4,500, 800 entrepreneurs in Austria. And we from SENA are trying to support this development and to, as also the Klimafonds are trying to help government to provide framework conditions and to increase also the awareness of the political decision makers for this field.
And what would be right now in face of the corona crisis? I don't know, maybe they're already taking place. Just a few important steps that should now be taken from your point of view in social entrepreneurship, or how can they precisely contribute in certain areas, which maybe they can even do better or more precisely, as you already pointed out, than institutions, because they're touching other fields. So what is right now the Gebot der Stunde, the message, the necessity of the moment in this situation today?
So that's true. We see that social entrepreneurs are in a position to contribute a lot to soften the impacts of the crisis. So they have quickly, and that's one of the main advantages of social entrepreneurs compared to a huge social system or a huge social organization. They were able to quickly adapt to the changing conditions, to change their impact models, to the new needs of groups and people that due to Corona are left out. We have seen it in the documentary and also in the discussion. We've heard it that particularly educational programs have increased due to the social differences when it comes to homeschooling, where parents from socially not so well established backgrounds have often difficulties to support their children, or if they have not the language skills, whatever, and so forth. And there have been increased offers to get these children, to reach them and to offer them the same opportunities that all children should have. And on the other hand, many of the business models have now become digitalized, which has already taken place before, but now it was accelerated. And so this also helps to decrease barriers for certain areas, so like psychological support or coaching. If you do it on a digital level, you reach certain groups, foremost young people, that are more likely to search help on this level. And also, which is a very important point, social entrepreneurs offer and support regional activities of the regional economy, of regional agricultural suppliers. And this was a really big benefit offered by social entrepreneurs, that they have this very local economy approach and are having their impact in the local area, and therefore they were able to bring value to these producers and economic actors that were left out, so small, so SMEs or small agricultural productions who were able to get a place to offer their products, although Corona was taking place.
If you, this is a question for both, if from the situation right now or from the last month that Austria as well had very strong restriction and is facing this crisis, but as we're discussing there are also changes, changing or get accelerated maybe. what are maybe positive effects, or could you tell us something positive, positive change that you see in your field, and that you think is a positive learning from this crisis? Maybe Vogel?
Maybe it was, you mentioned it at the last part of your words. It's about that people are more aware of their local surrounding, of their local environment. And I have the impression, and we have this feedback also, especially, for example, in the food sector, people are more interested, where does my food come from? Is it possible to grow my own food, for example, also in cities, vertical farming and other things, but also high-tech things like 3D printing of fish or whatever. Yeah? So you have different, but people are more interested, where does my food come from, and how is it possible to to have all I need. So it's because nutrition is very close to us. It's the same as clothing, for example. But if the farther you go away from the body, the easier it is to forget possible necessary changes. Let me say like that. Where we also see where really there is a large engagement is at the moment, you know, at the bank you don't get that much money, whatever. So people are interested, where can I invest my private money in, again, my region, my town, my community, for example. And this is really a success in, for example, private small-scale PV installations on the roof of single houses, or also participation plants on the roof of social housing projects, and so people are really interested, how can I generate my own energy for example, also. And they're willing to spend money and to put money in that, or they are selling, they're buying an e-car, an electric car, because they think I can do something good for environmental, it's good for my children, and at the moment it's also, there's some subsidies on it, so it's good for me. So it's really, they try also to have this kind of, from my perspective, we often have this question, it's like a life without regret. So I should live and also obey that I have a footprint for the future. It should be not too large. So I have really the impression that people are interested in that more and more. And this is also coming an influence from Corona, because that was very important. We heard this before, global industries had problems with delivering the products and getting all the things they needed for the production. People were suddenly without any, I don't know, medicine and other things. So it was really, people were aware that, it has something good if I have a regional production, if I have regional supply, if I can go out and see where does it come from.
So the regionalization is helping to resolve in certain points, or to help to promote a more sustainable future.
I think so, because there's more interest in this, and then, you know, there's interest, people give money in, they are acting, so something is going on.
Okay, so thank you very much. And Dr. Stockhammer, you have positive input from that crisis that you think is been caused by that crisis, and that you would like to explore more or to continue?
So first of all, I totally agree with what Mrs. Vogel has said. The crisis has brought more awareness to things that relate to a more sustainable living, and on the ecological side, and on the other hand also on the social side, because now certain social problems have come to surface that were formerly not known. We all have heard about the scandals in the food productions in Germany or in Austria at the post distribution center, where Corona has shown working conditions that should not be standard in our Western societies and economies, where also low income or low cost workers are brought by buses, carried by buses to Austria, to Germany, to whatever in the Central Europe, the Western Europe region, and then are exploited and put on the spots and closely. And we all know, of course, the sweatshops in Italy who are, some are saying this is the reason we have this quick explosion, or this explosion of corona in Italy, because of the sweatshops where the Chinese workers are put for 2 or 3 weeks in a closed area where they cannot go out, and then they are exploited, and if they're no longer able to be productive, then they are brought back to China. And the same thing happens all over Europe in many places, and now people are more aware about how things are produced, as said, and how the logistic and production chains work, and they become aware that things should be more close and should be more transparent and should be more social and more fair, because in the end it also affects them. If things are not social, it affects society. Society is destabilized. Then you have problems that affect the society as a whole and everybody. And so people are becoming, or are starting to revise and question their values. And also before Corona, in particular the younger generation has already shifted from a mere money-focused and growth-focused thinking to a more value-oriented thinking, where the young people are looking for jobs that provide sense and that provide impact and that provide value to them as well. But this has been speeded up by Corona, because now we have seen how corrupt our societies and our economies, in particular our economies, are to some extent, and this has been brought to surface, and now people are more aware consumers, and this is also where each of us can make a difference by being more aware of what I buy, how has it been produced, how do I live, and also and this is also a very valuable effect of Corona. People have been speeding down a little bit and stopped, and had they were forced to think and to revise certain things, and most of all they were brought. Normally people have a quick life, they're working, they're consuming a lot, and now they had the chance to come back to the family, to the local community, and this has also brought a change to thinking.
So, well, thank you very much for your participation. I think we touched a lot of interesting issues. Hopefully we can soon develop them in a specific talk just on this in an evening, because it's obviously a very important possibility, and also it's very interesting to learn for us from Austria, and hopefully we can also contribute with ideas or experiences from Catalonia. So thank you very much, Ms. Vogel, Ms. Stockhammer, for coming here to the delegation of the government of Catalonia and Central Europe, and to share your